guess this didn't work. Okay. Mm. Hi. um. All right. So I'm going to respond to some comments that uh, I consider them. I consider them, you know, people that. Oh gosh, I don't know where I'm going with this. Okay. All right. I'm going to respond to some comments made on my last video concerning not my recently last video, not the drunk interview, but uh, I'm going to address some comments made by Eric Jobe on the uh, duty of philosophy because I thought his comment was I liked his comment, and then and I wanted to discuss it more, and then my friend Davood Gozli he also shared with me a response that he wrote about my video. Uh, unfortunately, I don't feel comfortable sharing it because it is um, it is under his Patreon. uh, I think Dawood, if you watch this, I am planning to perhaps write this out in that thread for you. Um, but I think for the content itself, I will just strictly kind of use a summarized response from what I read about your um, response towards my video, and then we will see how this um, see how we go about the duty of philosophy as I had um, proposed, right? Um, so okay, let's just begin with Eric Jobe's comment. So Eric Jobe responded to my video on the duty of philosophy concerning religion, and he said, "What I love about Hegel's treatment of religion is that he defines it on non-religious grounds as spirit reflected back into itself or spirit that is conscious of itself. In the phenomenology of spirit, after moving through the dialectic up to spirit, the next chapter in religion is nothing more than spirit reflected back into the previous stages of self consciousness. So, primitive religion is spirit reflected back into consciousness. That is to say, yeah, that is to say, sense certainty and perception. Greek religion, which Hegel was obsessed with early in his life. I lost my in his life was spirit reflected back into self-consciousness, as to say, reason and the revealed religion of Christianity is spirit reflected into itself. So what is really interesting there is that he defines religion in a way that is almost inescapable. Like every atheist is religious in Hegelian terms insofar as they participate in a collective spirit reflected back into itself. I'm going to like hold on to that thought because um, there's something in the Orthodox Muslim. Uh, I will hold on to that thought. So okay, continuing on. And then he says what he's more critical of is what he calls simply faith, that is an individual or household faith, which he likens to ancestor worship and the underworld. This faith is reflective of the individual law of the heart in contrast to the way of the world. This kind of faith cannot rise to spirit, but recoils from spirit back into the particular individual. Anyway, there's a lot to glean from Hegel on religion. His lectures on the philosophy of religion have been collected into three translated volumes in English by Peter C. Hodgson, which include his original manuscript as well as the 3 years he lectured on the subject. So there's a lot there, and I'm only embarking on the study of it. Okay, so I really like that. Thank you, Eric, for this comment. There's a reason why I didn't respond immediately. It's because I wanted to do a video about it. And I like that. I do like that you're bringing Hegel into this, and um, you are showing me that there was and still are philosophers that do care, and there's still a lot of room for study on this aspect of like what is religion, right? Trying to answer this question. And I like that you said right here, it says, but on a more personal note, you said part of my whole project in studying Hegel and psychoanalysis is precisely the subject of religion. Having developed my neuroses, mainly in a religious context, when some real came in and shattered my religious other, I was left picking up the pieces and wondering what of my religious experiences going back to childhood were real or just neurotic desires. In a sense, I'm looking for some experience of religion that is simply not, and then you use this formula that I don't know. You said that is to say, not just some fantasy in the structure of neurosis. Anyway, I just want to express my solidarity with your sentiments here, and I hope I can be a fellow traveler with you in asking this question: what is religion? Thank you, Eric. I really do appreciate that. And yeah, I mean, you make a good point about like because this is something I think I actually had a hard time letting go of the most. But you could say I never really let go of it. Um, and in some aspects, like you, it's like I am still trying to answer um, these like religious experiences. Like what is that? And that also reminds me of like Davood's response to my video that he wrote through his Patreon page. So that's why I'm not sharing it because I feel like that is something Davood solely controls. Um, if Davood wants to share it, he can, and, and so on. But I want to respond to Davood here as well because I feel like what he said is something very important. And then at the same time, I feel like me responding here and to show and to make a point in live thought, I think it's also uh, to think about. But anyways, Davood also makes this in the article. He says something about his growing up in Islam, and there's this one line in the article where he talks about that he says, religion isn't something that it's like a backpack that you just drop, you know. So that does make me think, and it does seem if I want to really connect, if I really want to connect our experiences, right? Like when Eric talks about his religious experiences, when I talk about my religious experience, it's true. Like they're not just backpacks that we can just drop them. There's something about our religious experiences that ultimately we're still trying to understand, right? Um, Now, what's really here, Eric? Have I been calling you Jacob? No, okay, hopefully not. Um, uh, what's interesting here, Eric, is that one of my favorite. I think maybe you have seen the videos on him, but one of my favorite still Muslim philosophers to this day uh, is Muhammad Iqbal, and the reason why I like him when he talks about religious experience is because oftentimes we look at the neurosis as something bad. Um, but then when we talk about literary characters like Don Quixote, um, or the more biblical prophets, for example, or the Quranic prophets, whatever, um, people today would diagnose them with a kind of neurosis or schizophrenia. And so the real question that I like that Iqbal proposes in this idea of religious experience is that he says he kind of, I mean, for me, he gave me a little thought because basically what he's provoking is, okay, if society today were to have diagnosed a prophet, he would most likely have schizophrenia. But here's the thing: the perfect subject is the one that supposedly has schizophrenia or so on, or the madman. Because if the prophet is capable of falling into the same category as an actual madman that has schizophrenia, the real question is, how do we actually distinguish that? And the other question that is the most provoking one to me is, what is it about these specific neuroses or schizophrenia that allows a certain receptivity that we cannot access? Um, so, when you said like these neurotic desires, I mean, I'm pretty sure you are referring to them in the negative sense, but um, it is just striking to me that for me, I wonder if there's a way to challenge our neurotic position to where it's like, actually, if I change my neurotic position, right, um, while still maintaining the neurosis in a way, but having a different qualitative state, not really curing it, but having a different qualitative state with it, or qualitative relationship with it, um, what is the receptivity then? Does that allow for me understanding a religious experience, or is that the religious experience itself? I mean, I don't know. Just things I was thinking about. Um, okay, so I think I addressed that, and again, I really do thank you, Eric. That was great. I like that. You also want to answer this question about what is religion, and actually, after your comment, it is actually what really got me into philosophy in the first place. This idea of, like, I really wanted to understand religious experience, because I feel like it's a realm that is just so vast and so open. And Muhammad Iqbal was probably the first. He's actually the first philosopher I ever read, and on top of that, he was the one that really inspired me about religious experience, because I just really wanted to know. Okay, now onto Davood. Davood says a very interesting uh, comment that I want to bring up in his reply to me. And I'll just quote him here. He says, so he's talking about, for those of you that watched it, I made this generalization about philosophy where I said, well, about everything in general. I basically said, well, if you really love something, it's hard to critique it, right? It's hard to critique it. Um, but actually, Davood's comment and Davood's response uh, elucidated something to me. It actually made clear something to me. And his, you could say, his pointing out some of the pitfalls that my thinking arrived at helped me actually make a very critical distinction. And this critical distinction, actually, before I share the critical distinction, I will read his comment. So I said something about love, right? And then he says here, I believe you can only truly criticize what you love. Okay. Um, that sentence actually was very haunting for me. Um, Not haunting like it spooked me, but it was haunting like it made me dwell on it for a long time last night while I was still a little drunk. Um, and actually, oh man, well, I guess I'll have to save that for the written part. But anyways, when Davood had said this, that he feels that you can only truly criticize what you love. I thought about this more, and I said, okay, yeah, I am wrong. I am wrong. I am wrong in the sense that it's not necessarily the duty of philosophy, but there's a very tricky loop here. Like, it's a very tricky loop. Like, it is the duty of philosophy and it isn't the duty of philosophy. And I'm about to reveal why. And it's all premised on this one line from Davood of his response where he says, I believe you can only truly criticize what you love. And so here it is. And I'm going to actually ease us into this example, and then I'm going to retract, right? So let's take God, right? God, people believe in God because they believe that God is the truth, right? And so when people say that they love God, what they're really saying is that they love truth. Um, so let's just take that statement, that you love truth. Um, Now, can truth be criticized? Yes, it can be. Why? Because you love truth and you want to know the truth. And when you want to know somebody, you don't settle for the um, things that prevent you from knowing it. Um, and what's funny is that if we say that we love truth, isn't that the sole starting point of a philosopher, right? The people that love truth for the sake of truth, that is the philosopher. Now, here's the other interesting part. What is the point of religion and philosophy? What are their aims? Let's actually entertain this for a moment. Okay? Without, let's say, for example, we will never be able to fully answer the question, what is philosophy and what is religion? But we know within the context of experience that the person that is religious and that the person that is the philosopher, the sole aim is that they love truth. The Christian loves truth because he loves God. God is truth to the Christian. And he wants everybody to believe in that truth, to follow that truth, to get to know that truth. The philosopher, in the same sense, is on the same page in terms of truth. He wants you to know the truth. He's willing to criticize everything that is not truth, uh, and so on. So, what we have here is both philosophy and religion, both aiming and claiming to love truth. So, this is the part where my little trick comes in. This is the very subtle part about loving what you can't critique, right? Um, it's a very subtle part where Davood is right and then I'm right. It's a very subtle distinction. And I'm going to make this a very subtle distinction here. I'm going to make an addition to Davood's statement and say this. You can only criticize what you love if you love truth. If you sincerely love truth in and for itself. And when you love truth in and for itself, you can critique those that you love. You can critique anything that you claim to love. It follows. It just follows. That's exactly what would happen. Now, if you claim to love truth, but somehow you fell into error, meaning that you have conflated philosophy with truth, and you have conflated religion with truth, then what happens is that what happens is my critique falls in. The Christian, so there's going to be two parallels. The Christian that loves Christianity has a hard time critiquing Christianity because he loves Christianity. That's the part where I'm correct. Um, The part where Davood is correct is this: the Christian who loves truth doesn't have a problem critiquing Christianity. You see the difference there? As long as the Christian does not love the category itself that he's in, meaning Christianity, and as long as the philosopher does not love the category that he's in, he stays sincerely a philosopher in this case, right? A lover of truth, a lover of wisdom. Um, but it's when the philosopher thinks that philosophy can answer everything, or philosophy is the only thing that can go this way, that is when he is no longer the lover of truth. He is just the lover of philosophy. You see what I'm saying here? It's a very subtle and slippery um, way, but I think it's very important. And if it weren't for Davood pointing that out to me, I wouldn't have been able to make that distinction. So, so whose duty is it, right? Is it philosophy's duty to ask what is religion? Is it religion's duty to ask what is religion? The correction that I would make now, knowing this, is that actually anybody who sincerely loves truth should be asking the question, what is religion? It is your duty to ask what is religion. That is what I would propose to you. And the reason why, if you love truth, then you automatically want to answer this question. You want to dive deep into this question about what is religion. And so, to give a nice summary of it, whether you define yourself as Christian or you define yourself as a philosopher or none of these, as long as you have the sincere criteria of I am someone who loves truth in and of itself, then this is your duty, right? This is the duty just follows. Um, and so, but the funny part about the philosophy is that if you are a philosopher if you love truth, right? If you love wisdom, right? For the religious people, you are a hidden philosopher because you love truth, right? If God is truth, you love truth, and you will do anything for truth. But the really mistaken notions is this: when we conflate the categories that we're in as the whole guise and covering of truth. If you love truth, you must accept that at any moment you can lose it. That's how I look at it. If you are a true pursuer of truth and you claim to love truth, you must know at any moment that it can be lost. And so I think the real failure is assuming that we can fall into these categories. Or so I had made this distinction, right? And I think it's a very good distinction. The Christian that loves Christianity and the Christian that loves truth. The Christian who loves truth can always come to face the facts that maybe Christianity is not true. But the Christian that only loves Christianity and not the truth has a difficult time facing the possibility that it could not be true. So there is a very subtle distinction between there's a very subtle distinction between, and I only use Christianity because I was born Christian too, so I'm not alien to this. But it's because, I think with religious people, I've met a couple that I've met people that you can tell they love truth in itself, and they're Christian. But then there's people that are Christians, but they only love Christianity, right? And everything else that is not within Christianity, they cannot love. But if you love truth itself, it just follows that you would like, you are able to critique what you do love. It just follows because you are the lover of truth. Like being a lover of truth means you are capable of critiquing truth when there is a suggestion of its falsity, when there is a comparison that proves that it may be false. If you are a lover of truth, it automatically wants to correct itself or do a comparison to um, figure it out. If you are not a lover of truth, the only thing that you want to do is re is dissipate your doubt and reconfirm the same truth. So yes, Michelle. Michelle says, "Ooh, that's good. If you love truth, you must know that at any moment it can be lost." Yes, I mean that is what I was really thinking about last night. That at any moment, if you really love truth, at any moment it can be lost. Um, and I think that's also what it means to have faith in the proper way. At any moment, um, at any moment, you just don't know. It could be that you don't know, right? It could be that you don't know. Um, you could actually say this is an advancement of a leap of faith. What a leap of faith actually means. But you know what's funny about leap of faith is that people talk about leap of faith like this. There's this a moment in my life where I'm just going to have to take a leap of faith. I don't think I don't think that is a useful interpretation for me. I rather look at someone's life as the entire living as a leap of faith, meaning Rilke's notion of living with the question. And it's not living as a blind leap of faith, but living as a leap of faith, where it is you know that something could be lost. That is the whole point of jumping off of the cliff. You could survive, you could not survive. There is the process of leaping that shows itself that says I could lose this and I could not lose this, but I'm having faith um, that I will continue in this um, this leaping. It's so I don't know. I mean, there's more to dissect in that aspect of faith, but um, some of the things that I want to tackle a little bit more is trying to show people that are skeptical about religion, um, ways that philosophy can help you to reinterpret uh, aspects of things that maybe preachers or maybe imams or sheikhs that could never really give an adequate answer. I think philosophy, to be honest, philosophy has shown me more adequate interpretations of scriptures, of the notions of blind faith, of praying, and so on. Uh, just interpretations that I feel like can have a real impact in your life without it being fundamentalist or any sort. So I don't know. That is another side aim that I would like to do, because I think even the idea of prayer, people only think about the mechanical way, but there's a way to live as prayer. There's a way to live as praying. There's a way to live as leap of faith. There is a way to live as such. I just think that the world is too stuck on the mechanical actions, and what's the point or what and we all have these sort of notions of God, but these are always traditional notions of God and traditional notions of prayer and traditional notions of faith and so on. And I just want to give people a reinterpretations of what those could mean, right? And I think what Eric Jobe had said in his previous comment, where he says even the atheist participates in the consciousness itself, so that means he would also be religious, right? That is like the same trick that I'm doing, right? Like to show you that even the atheist in his own way is praying and having faith and um, doing some kind of leap in some fashion and so on. Uh, it's interesting when you think about this, but of course it's just we just have to broaden our minds a little bit. Uh, but again, if you love truth, uh, it can change at any moment. Um, so yeah, it's the duty lies for those who love truth sincerely. And I think I will end it on that. Because I thought Davood's critique was very good. Um, and I actually want to say the article is a critique, so that way I could be like, oh, he loves me. Okay. Anyways, all right, guys, take care.